Le premier intervenant dans cette session de travail, c'est Asiem El Difraoui, il est cofondateur de la Candide Foundation et du magazine Zénith, le magazine allemand Zénith. À vous la parole, Monsieur Difraoui.
Hello, is this microphone working? Yeah. Bonjour, salam alaikum, guten Tag. And hello again. I will speak in English, and I will start all this with a couple of personal remarks. Personal remarks in terms of the format. I'm very delighted that this event happens. I'm very invited that we have younger personalities here. I don't think they're that young. And those younger personalities have voiced a certain kind of criticism about the format. So I'm happy to take questions directly after my intervention, because it's really about you sitting there. And when I'm saying I was making some remarks about this format, it's like it's a format where you should be the center and not look up to us, which has been voiced yesterday, and be more included. So I'll do the standing at eye level, because I think the first thing, if we talk about education and countering extremism, we should work on eye level with people and not in a frontal talk, you know. And yesterday, there was also this very interesting remark about young leaders here who are much more influenced than a lot of people on the stage. And I think Asiem El was asked to ask a question, while I think you should make statements. To say, like, some of these people here are more influential than what the UNESCO represents. Amr Salama has 2 million followers on Twitter in Egypt. Asiem El has 400,000 in Tunisia. And those are really voices we need to hear and not degrade them to asking questions. They should be really included. Now coming to myself. If we talk about violent extremism, it's a phenomenon which haunts us for a long time. And unfortunately, as a political scientist, I have been confronted with this phenomena for the last 20 or 30 years, with one part of the phenomena, which is jihadism. At this time, when I first met jihadis, the word didn't even exist. If we're talking about violent extremism, unfortunately, we mainly mean jihadism, while we should also confront in Europe right-wing populism, which we're not talking enough about. How do you confront jihadism? If you confront jihadism, you need first to understand what this phenomena did to us, did to our societies, and what it is. Jihadism itself is a term deriving from European social sciences, denoting a group of people which we have actively helped to develop, helped the ideology to develop, meaning jihadism emerged through the Afghan war against the Soviets, where the Western world and the Arab world very actively supported the most reactionary and most dangerous elements in Islamism, to use another term from the social sciences, in order to defeat the Soviet Union. So these are the ghosts we created and which haunt us until today. What did these people do? Those people created an ideology, but especially, very trendy word again, a grand narrative. A grand narrative which became so powerful that it stole huge parts of Islam, Islamic symbolism, Islamic key concepts, destroyed or totally hijacked Islamic concepts like jihad, created new concepts of martyrdom in forms of suicide attacks, which didn't even exist in classical Islamic jurisprudence or history. So today we have this very powerful grand narrative full of lies with wrong salvation myths, which is infecting half of our world. I mean, young jihadis are present in Syria, they're coming from France, they're coming from Belgium, they're coming from Egypt, they're coming from Tunisia. There's really no part of the world which is safe today from this, very dangerous, lying grand narrative. And what are we doing against it? Next to nothing. Next to nothing. We are talking here about inclusive education to help out how to counter it. But there's no in-depth confrontation of this. And there are many aspects. If we talk about fighting jihadism and fighting their narrative, a lot of people are just concerned with their own societies. And we don't go to the root of these causes. This narrative is so powerful in the sense that today in Syria we will be confronted, for the next 20 or 30 years in Syria and Iraq we will be confronted with a generation of Syrian Iraqi youth who have been now for several years exposed not only to jihadi propaganda but to jihadi teaching in schools, who have been partly out of schools. I mean, the jihadis, initially, that's also a very interesting point. It's a shame that there's no Saudi representative here today. Initially, the jihadis used in Syria and Iraq Saudi school books with a strict segregation of men and women. Now they went a step further, so it's interesting why they approved of Saudi school books. Apparently there seems to be some ideological overlapping. Now they have their own school books, where they teach the alphabet with things like K for Kalashnikov, and so on, you know, where their very violent worldview is exposed. So we will be confronted with thousands and thousands of young children who have been indoctrinated at a very young age with this very dangerous ideology. So that's something where the UNESCO really needs to act very rapidly. In terms of educational initiatives, especially what is concerning Syria and Iraq. Then again, there are all the dangers to European society. I've been advising the French and the German government on de-radicalization efforts, on prevention efforts, and so on. But this only works if we have very, very powerful participative tools. That's why I'm standing here and I'm asking you to ask questions directly. Imagine we would have 30 school children from Marseille, from the northern areas of Marseille, or 30 young kids from Cairo, and somebody would stand there and just talk down to them in a very frontal way. We need to encourage independent, inclusive thinking in order to do meaningful prevention methods. And then there is this trendy words, UNESCO, but all institutions around the world using this word counter-narratives. We need to counter the jihadi narratives, do something against it, invalidate it. I'm just coming back from a conference in Dakar in Senegal where this was a major topic. The UNESCO did a conference in Canada, so everybody is using this very fashionable words. But I don't like this word counter-narrative. Counter-narrative, we position us to counter something, but where is our narrative? That's the major thing. What's our vision? We need to confront jihadi narratives with a powerful vision of our societies. This is true for European societies, but it's also true. I mean, Europe is in a crisis, and we should very honestly say that as well. If we are talking about the European Arab dialogue, we need to ask ourselves, where is Europe? So I feel very much more as a European than Arab. What's our European vision? A common vision to not as a counter-narrative, but as a strong, powerful, encouraging narrative to show that jihadism is no option. The same thing is true for the Arab world, and much more so. Among the other many conferences I went to Morocco, to Tunisia, to Egypt, to speak about these issues. And I'll just relate something from Egypt. I was working with very young students in Egypt, like 2 weeks ago, who were all become school teachers. People from all over Egypt, from provincial towns, from the megapolis Cairo, Alexandria, between 18 and 20 years old. And we were trying to develop together ideas how to counter jihadism. And I was impressed by the lucidity, by the brilliance of young students who hardly spoke any foreign language, who haven't been traveling abroad. They understood perfectly the ills which lead to jihadism. They were themselves criticizing the Egyptian school system, which is very much true for all the Arab world, learning by heart, the non-encouragement of independent thinking. And these young teachers all knew this, but they're saying, we can't change it, because if we are trying to change this, we won't even find a job. So the Arab world, very honestly, is confronted with a very special set of problems. And what the young Egyptian teacher said as well was that social misery is something which will prevail in Egypt, which is one of the root causes, which we need to fight again. But it's more really about how to teach independent, critical thinking about history, and how to start an open debate about what is Islam and what should Islam play in a society. And there I'm talking about school teachers who were partly highly religious, you know, young ladies which were wearing the headscarf, and they were saying, we need to start an open debate which forms, which concepts in Islam have been hijacked, have been used by this very violent ideology, and we need to lead an open debate what the role of Islam in society should be and which kind of reform movements we need. But obviously, like fighting an extremist ideology under authoritarian regimes is a very, very special challenge, and I believe the UNESCO can nevertheless play a leading role. It's not the role of the UNESCO, obviously, to change regimes, but there's whole packages of teaching materials which also show all our common roots, teaching materials which show that we have more in common than divides us, which we can provide, and this is a very long-term work which can be very meaningful, and at the same time really foster also this Europe-Arab understanding. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to take questions straight away.
شكرا سيد دفراوي. سأكون حريصا في تسيير أشغال هذه الجلسة على أن أعطي مضمونا حقيقيا لمعنى الحوار العربي الأوروبي. لهذا فالكلمة الأساسية ستكون للقاعة، وبالأخص بصفة أولوية لفريق الشخصيات الشابة، على أساس أن يلتزم ضيوفنا الكرام بمدة معقولة بين 7 و10 دقائق